By the spirit of Vatican II is meant the teaching and intentions of the Second Vatican Council interpreted in a way that is not limited to a literal reading of its documents, or even interpreted in a way that contradicts the letter of the Council. This has led to a great diversity of understanding of the phrase, 1962 to 1967, according to Peritus Eve Conger in an address to the Council on 3 December 1962. Cardinal Ledger wishes that the spirit of renewal be protected by a committee that will authoritatively protect the spirit of the Council in the period between the two sessions. In an address at Milan Cathedral on 7 June 1963, before the opening of the Papal Conclave of 1963, Papabile Cardinal Montini says of Pope John XXIII, who had died 4 days earlier, "If we still wanted to fix our gaze on the tomb, now sealed, we could speak about his legacy which that tomb cannot contain, about the spirit which he infused into our era and which death cannot suffocate." On 25 July 1967, Pope Paul VI says in a sermon to the Catholics of Istanbul at the Cathedral of the Holy Spirit, "The recent Vatican Council reminded us that this progress is based first of all on the renovation of the Church and on the conversion of the heart. This means that you will contribute to this progress toward unity in the measure in which you enter into the spirit of the Council. An effort is demanded from each of us to revise our customary ways of thinking and acting to bring them more in conformity with the Gospel and the demands of a true Christian brotherhood." 1974 to 1982. Traditionalist Catholics such as Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre distinguish between Catholic Rome and the actually existing Rome, as he declares in 1974 that, while he and his followers are faithful to Catholic Rome, they refuse to follow the Rome of neo-modernist and neo-Protestant tendencies which were clearly evident in the Second Vatican Council and, after the Council, in all the reforms which issued from it. A priest of the Lefebvre-founded Society of St. Pius X similarly declares in 1982 that Rome is now the headquarters, not only of the Catholic Church, but of the modernist mafia which has invaded and subjected it, and that the multitudes of ex-Catholic shepherds and the sheep who have either defected or drifted into a new religion might well be called Roman Protestants. 1985 to 2005. In the 1985 book The Ratzinger Report, the then Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger distinguishes the true spirit of the Council from false interpretations, blaming the disappointed hopes for renewal on those who have gone far beyond both the letter and the spirit of Vatican II, and calling for a return to the authentic texts of the original Vatican II. Pope John Paul II calls in 1994 for what he describes as the authentic spirit of the Council to be respected. In November 2003, Michael Novak describes what has been called the spirit of the Second Vatican Council as something that sometimes soared far beyond the actual hard-won documents and decisions of Vatican II. It was as though the world were now to be divided into only two periods, pre-Vatican II and post-Vatican II. Everything pre was then pretty much dismissed so far as its authority mattered. For the most extreme, to be a Catholic now meant to believe more or less anything one wished to believe, or at least in the sense in which one personally interpreted it. One could be a Catholic in spirit. One could take Catholic to mean the culture in which one was born, rather than to mean a creed making objective and rigorous demands. One could imagine Rome as a distant and irrelevant anachronism, embarrassment, even adversary. Rome as them. In 2005, in a speech to the Roman Curia, Pope Benedict XVI says, "On the one hand, there is an interpretation that I would call a hermeneutic of discontinuity and rupture. It has frequently availed itself of the sympathies of the mass media, and also one trend of modern theology. On the other, there is the hermeneutic of reform, of renewal in the continuity of the one subject Church which the Lord has given to us. She is a subject which increases in time and develops, yet always remaining the same, the one subject of the journeying people of God." The hermeneutic of discontinuity risks ending in a split between the pre-conciliar Church and the post-conciliar Church. In a word, it would be necessary not to follow the texts of the Council but its spirit. In this way, obviously, a vast margin was left open for the question on how this spirit should subsequently be defined, and room was consequently made for every whim. The hermeneutic of discontinuity is countered by the hermeneutic of reform, as it was presented first by Pope John XXIII in his speech inaugurating the Council on the 11th of October 1962, and later by Pope Paul VI in his discourse for the Council's conclusion on the 7th of December 1965. According to this view of Pope Benedict XVI, the correct view of the Council is that which interprets it within the context of tradition, not as a rupture with tradition, and the false view is that which only accepted as authentic the spirit or progressive thrust of the documents, and so rejected any elements of the older tradition found in the texts, which were regarded as compromises and so not binding. According to this view, certain changes made in the name of the spirit of Vatican II are contrary not only to canon law and church tradition but also to the actual teachings of the Council and its official interpretations.